The ninth Adhyaya, Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, introduces us to the knowledge of the Supreme Divinity and the ways to attain the divine. Devotion, bhakti, is the most powerful way to connect with, to understand, and finally to attain the divinity. This Adhyaya reveals divine knowledge of the self, Atmagnana, and that of the divine, Brahmagnana, also known as Rajavidya, the royal knowledge, knowing which is the ultimate goal of the mankind. This goal is possible only in the human life, and therefore human life is considered invaluable and rare, durlabha. This divine knowledge is also considered a royal secret, Rajaguhya, or the hidden knowledge, Guhya Gnana, as it is not revealed to most, and most are not able to grasp this subtle understanding. Krishna mentions many aspects of the divine and his devotion, bhakti, to understand and connect to the divine supreme, yoga. The ninth Adhyaya starts with Krishna's pledge to tell Arjuna about the secret hidden treasure. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Tutte Guhyatamam Pravakshamyana Suyave. He says, this knowledge is an ultimate secret. I shall tell you, Arjuna, in great details, as you have no jealousy. Gnana Vignana Sahitam Yajgnatva Mokshase Shubhat. He says this knowledge becomes assimilated, and by knowing which you shall be delivered from all the sins. There are many reasons why the knowledge of the self and the divine is the top secret, Guhyatama. The subject of this spiritual knowledge is very subtle, Sukshma Vishaya, and it is difficult for most of us with a gross intellect, Sthula Buddhi, to comprehend this subject. It cannot be understood by the mind and the intellect easily, but still it has to be attained by the mind and the intellect. It is part of my own self, but still it remains unknown. It is as if we are sitting on a treasure, not knowing its presence or its true importance. Krishna is telling this to Arjuna and no one else, as Arjuna does not have jealousy, anasuya, and is pure at heart. And this is the essential eligibility criteria to understand the self-knowledge or Atmagnana. He says, Rajavidya Rajakuhyam. This is the king of all the knowledge, and it is the best kept secret. Pavitram idam uttamam, which is the best and the most pious knowledge. Pratyaksha avagaman. It can be experienced by our own self. Dharmyam. It is related to dharma, righteousness, our religion, our duties. Susukham kartum. It is easily attainable. And it is avyayam, it is eternal, it is changeless. Krishna says it is the best of all the knowledge, as it is completely different from what we have studied so far, as it is a fundamental knowledge of the existence, and it always is helpful to us in day-to-day life. It is the basis of all knowledge, and it is a master of all knowledge. This self-knowledge relieves us from all the suffering, sorrow, and the death. It is the best kept secret, Rajguhya, as everyone does not understand it, as it is an inner journey for the individual. Due to our outwardly approach, Bahirmukhata, one is not able to have the glimpse of this divine knowledge which remains hidden inside us, Guhya. That's why we need a learned and a realized guru who follows the scriptures as a roadmap and has learned the skills from the lineage or the parampara. The beauty of this knowledge is that it is part of our own true self and can be directly experienced by the person, Pratyaksha Avagaman, as his own true self, Sakshat Aparoksha Anubhuti. This pure awareness is the cause for all the experiences that we perceive. It also helps us to follow the religious path, the path of Dharma, as it is prescribed by the scriptures, Shastra Vihita. This knowledge is easily attainable, Susukham Kartum, for the one who is eligible, who is prepared for the constant lifelong practice to follow the right means and the right path shown by the scriptures. This divinity is eternal, Nitya, and changeless, Avyayam, both the divine Brahma and the divine knowledge of the Brahma, Brahmagnana. In the next verse, Krishna shows the importance of faith on the spiritual path. He says, Ashraddha Dana Purusha Asya Dharmasya. He says, those who do not have faith in the scriptures, Aprapya Mam Nivartante, cannot attain me. Mrityu Sansara Vartmani, and they rotate in this mortal world up and down. They take birth, they die, they take birth, they die. So faith is a very important on the spiritual journey. Faith in the scriptures, in the Guru, in Ishvara, and in our own self, Atma Shraddha. The spiritual path is an unknown path to reach the divine, Atma or Paramatma, Brahma, whatever we call it in different perspectives. And we need to have a faith that there has to be a creator behind this beautiful creation, just as every beautiful object in this world has been created by someone. So now Krishna starts teaching the omnipresent, unseen Bhagavan, the Brahma Vidya Updesha. He says, Maya idam tatam sarvam jagata. All this in this world is pervaded by me as Ishvara. He says, Avyakta Murtina, by my unmanifest form, which cannot be seen. Matsthani sarva bhutani, all the beings are within me. Chateshu aham na avastitaha, but I am not in them. The Supreme Divinity is omnipresent, is unseen, known as Brahma in Vedanta. It is all pervading, and all objects of this existence are pervaded by Him. Maya sarvam idam tatam jagata. This is the unmanifest form, the Avyakta Murtina of the divine. What we can actually see are all His incarnations, Avtara, Swarupa, manifestations, His Vibhuti, and His different forms in the world that we see day in and out. Our scriptures say that Ishvara is everywhere in this world. Karma Krishna. The original divine consciousness, Chaitanya Swarupa, is the existence as Sat, is the all-knower as Chit, and is the bliss form as Ananda, as the foundation, the Adhisthana of this universe, giving it all the isness, the Satta, and all its energy and the powers, the Sfurti. The existence of this material world is only due to the unmanifest Supreme Divinity, the Avyakta Swarupa. Even the opening shloka of Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya Midam Sarvam. Everything is pervaded by the Supreme Divinity, which is hidden everywhere, which we cannot see because it is unmanifest. And this is the highest principle of our Sanatana Dharma. In the next verse, Krishna reveals how as Ishvara, He is in the creation. He says, Nacha matsthani bhutani, all beings are not in me. Pashyame yoga maishwaram, see my glory and my splendor, my yoga, my powers. Aham bhuta bhavanaha, I am the cause of the birth of all the beings. I am the sustainer of all the beings. But still, all beings are not in me, he says. Krishna is saying just the opposite from what he said in the previous verse, where he said, all beings are within me, matsthani sarva bhutani. And now in this verse, he says, all the beings are not in me, nacha matsthani bhutani. Krishna says, see my magical powers and my splendor, Aishwaram, Yoga Maya. For common people like us, it is very difficult to understand these starkly contrasting statements. That's why we need a learned guru to clarify the meaning. Everything that we see is all about perceptions, our drashti bheda, from which standpoint we are seeing. For example, when we see the ocean from the one point of view as a vast endless filled with water, while from the another standpoint from a person who is sitting on the shore, ocean comprises only of some waves, different waves coming and going. Similarly, Vedanta commonly gives example of the space within the pot, Ghatakash, and the space outside the pot, Mahakasha, how they are differentiated from the standpoint of the pot or the form of the pot. Same is the perception of the Atma from an individual perspective and Brahman from the eternal perspective. Both are essentially the same from the perspective of the space, but while the difference is due to the transient manifestation of the individual Jiva. Krishna describes his own foundational Adhisthana and the Asanga at unattached Swarupa. He says, Yatha Kasha Sita Vayu Mahan. Just as abundant space, abundant wind within the space keeps blowing everywhere, similarly all the beings are within me. Firmly decide that. Krishna is explaining his unattached form, that is what he calls the Asanga Swarupa, by giving example of the space and the wind. Just like the space is an endless foundation in which the wind is contained and keeps blowing from one place to the other, still the space is just a silent observer and not attached in any way to the wind. Similarly, though the divinity pervades everywhere in this universe and is unattached observer, Asanga, all the objects and beings that keep moving within this world. Krishna wants Arjuna to understand this relationship between the divine and the material energy very clearly. He says, Iti upadharaya. Krishna makes this understanding clearer in the next few verses when he talks about the creation. He says, Kalpakshaye sarva bhutani mamikam prakrutim yanti. At the end of the universe, all the beings dissolve in my prakriti or maya. Kalpadau visrujami ham punah tani. He says, at the beginning of the universe, I create all these beings again and again. Krishna describes the cycle of creation, Srushti, Utpatti and dissolution, Pralaya, in this verse. Scriptures say that the unmanifest supreme divinity, Brahma, with the help of the divine powers, Maya, becomes Ishvara, from whom the entire creation begins and finally dissolves into the same divine. What is the difference between Jiva and Ishvara? Krishna says in the next verse that Maya is under the control of Brahma, Brahmashraya Maya. He says, Prakrutim swamavashtabhya visrujami punah punaha. Having controlled my Maya, my powers, my energy, I create again and again. Bhuta gramam imam krutsnam avasham prakruter vashat. And what about the Jiva, the beings, all these living beings, the Jiva, they don't have any control over the Maya. It is only that I have the control over the Maya and I keep creating these creation. Krishna says Ishwar is completely an independent principle, is Swatantra, whereas all the Jiva are dependent on many, are under the control of Maya or ignorance, avidya, where Maya is under the control of the divine, the Brahmashraya. Thus, Ishvara incarnates or creates this creation at his own will, whereas Jiva takes birth in a particular species based on his past karma and the karmic balance. Even during the life, the Jiva has to undergo many sufferings because there are so many factors beyond his or her control which needs to endure. Krishna describes some other differences between Jiva and Ishvara and how he is unattached to all his actions and his actions don't bind him. So, Krishna says, Eo Dhananjaya, Nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti. All these actions that I do, creation, dissolution, they don't bind me in any way. Udasin vata asinam, because I've risen above all of them. Teshu karmasu asaktam, and I completely am unattached to all my actions. Ishvara is the all-knower. Further, he has no identification with his incarnate body, mind or intellect due to complete spiritual knowledge, gnana. Paripurna, he is fulfilled with the knowledge. Therefore, Krishna as Ishvara is not bound to any actions that he performs during his life. Krishna says the creation is one of his actions to which he remains unattached. Udasinavata asinam, he says, he is risen above the three gunas. Jiva is bound to his actions, is helpless and moves like a pendulum from one side to the other. This is a cause for bondage due to the attachments of the individual. And these attachments, asakti, is towards the karma, where we develop a kartrutva or a doership feeling, and this attachment, asakti, is towards the results of our actions, karma phala, and the sense pleasures, bhoga, that we have. By this knowledge, Krishna teaches us in Gita that knowledge leads us from bondage to freedom or moksha. How Krishna remains unattached to the creation, he describes in the next verse, Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyache suyate sacharacharam. He says, in my presence as a Sakshi Chaitanya, the creation becomes manifest by Maya, and this entire world, this Trigunatmika, Jagata, and the entire non-living beings, Jagat, Jada, are created. Hetu nanena Jagat aparivartate. And for this reason only, everything in this world keeps changing and rotating. So it is the man behind the machine who is responsible for the creation. Similarly, a beautiful creation is insentient, Jada, which is maintained by the natural brilliant intelligence, needs a very powerful and all-powerful sentient creator, Chetana. And all the actions of creation, karma, dissolution, sustainers, are in the form of the divine Anatma, whereas the formless supreme divinity, the Chaitanya Brahma, is completely devoid of actions or karma and is a mere observer, Sakshi, of what is happening. It is in its presence thereof everything happens and is noted. The entire creation comprises the non-living and the life force, Jada, and the Chetana, which sustains the existence of the insentient Jada. The cycle of creation goes on endlessly, the free will of the Supreme Divinity. What is the true form of the Supreme Divinity and why people don't know it? Only a few know me, my real unmanifest Nirguna Swarupa. Bhagavan says, Avajananti mam mudhaha. Those ignorant people don't know me. Manushim tanumashritam. They just believe that I am this human form. Param bhavam ajananto. He says, they don't know my real self. Mama bhuta maheshwaram. And I'm the Lord of all the beings. Most of us believe that God is in a human form, as Krishna, Ram, Shiv, Christ, Nanak, Muhammad, etc., residing in some temple, church, or the mosque, or in the up heaven somewhere. Very few people attempt to know the real nature of the Supreme Divinity, Param Bhava Ajananto. Without the help of scriptures and a learned guru, it is almost impossible for us to fathom this eternity or understand the supreme divinity in its true form due to our limited intelligence and thinking. This misperception leads to delusion of the reality with which we live, and that's why we do not know the reality of the supreme divinity. How do such people live? Bhagavan says, Moga Asha, Moga Karmana. They have endless desires and their actions are all self-centered. Moga Gnana Vichetasaha. Their knowledge is limited and they act without awareness and thoughts. Rakshashim Masurim, Mohinim Cha Prakrutim Ashritaha. They have rude behavior, involved in sense pleasures, and are surrendered to Maya, which leads to their delusion. So Krishna describes the ignorant person, Mudha, who lives with Achetasa, without awareness, is attached to sensual pleasures, Asurim Bhava, does not think of the higher goal, Moga Gnana, and has numerous material desires to fulfill Moga Asha, and thus is involved in too much action during the day to fulfill all these desires which are targeted towards his personal or family fulfillment rather than the larger benefit to the society or humanity at large. Moga Karmanaha. This person competes with others to fulfill his desires, in the process behaves rudely with others due to his ego and may indulge in vices, Rakshasim Vritti. In the eyes of Krishna, this is because this person is surrendered to the material world, the Maya, and this kind of behavior is due to the delusion, Moha, which leads to bondage or Karma Bandhanaha. But the other side, Bhagavan shows who are the great men. He says, Daivim Prakrutim Ashritaha, those who surrender to the moral values, the Daivi Sampatti, Bhajati Mam Ananya Manasaha, those who worship me with a one-pointed devotion, Gnatva Bhutadi Mavyayam, and know me as the eternal source of all the beings. So Bhagavan says, great men are those who take shelter of the moral values, the Daivi Sampatti, which Bhagavan describes in many different adhyayas, the 12th, 13th, 15th, 16th, and others. And these divine values make us eligible to develop a purity of the inner mind, take away our unpious thoughts, and help us understand the self-knowledge. The other virtue to understand the divine is devotion, bhakti. And there are many different types of devotion that different seekers they can use according to their inclination towards the divine. And the different types of divine that we understand, one is the Saguna, Sakar Swarupa, the name and the form of the incarnation of the God. Ishvara Swarupa, either the Sagun or the Nirakar or the Sakar Swarupa. And its different manifestations like Vibhuti, Antaryami, Virata Swarupa, universal form, Vishwarupa, the cosmic form, the Nimitta and the Upadana Karana, the Karmadhyaksha and the Karmaphala Data. These are all the different Swarupa of the Lord, Ishvara. And finally, as the unmanifest supreme divinity, the Nirgun Brahma, or our own unmanifest self, our own Atma Swarupa. So how to devote to the Ishvara? And Bhagavan shows 6 ways to devote to the divine. He says, Satatam Kirtayantaha Mam Cha Yatantaha. Those who are involved in constantly my chanting and ever doing the best efforts to reach me. Dhradavrataha Namasyanta Chamam. Those who worship with firm resolve, they are disciplined, they are surrendered to me. And Nitya Yukta Bhaktya Upasate. They devote to me with dedication, feeling, and worship me with their Atma Sanyama, Nitya Yuktaha, with the control over their self. So devotion provides us with the right understanding, Samajhdari, allows us to gracefully accept all the situations in life without getting perturbed. Devotion provides us with a life skill that positive attitude is important in life. During failures, we should learn from the correct lessons and move ahead in life. Devotion brings a lot of inner peace with this understanding. Complaints for several petty things in life lessen as we progress on the path, and this is a sign of maturity of the mind. Finally, it helps us to lessen the ego or the pride, makes us humble. In short, devotion teaches us life-changing skills that can transform our life for better. And how can one worship the divine? Bhagavan says, Gnana yagnena yajantaha mam upasate. With knowledge, when one devotes to me, ekatvena, with the understanding of oneness with the Almighty, or pruthatvena, or else devotes me with differences, api anya bahuda vishwato mukham, or others worship me as the all-pervading in this world, as Vishwarupa or Virata Swarupa. Krishna says there are many ways to devote to the divine. Those who devote with the right understanding, they bring the benefits of devotion, gnana yagnena yajantaha. The formless nirguna devotees devote to the unmanifest with the knowledge of being one with the divine, that they themselves are divine beings. And this feeling or this bhava or the knowledge, the gnana of oneness with the divinity, ekatvena, is rare, possibly only for the men with wisdom. Most others devote to the divine with differentiation, prutatvena, with the God being the master or the Lord, the Swami, and they being the subservient or the sevak to the Lord. Others will be able to see the divinity in the nature and many other objects in the world, and they would eventually be able to see the divine everywhere in the universe, Vishwato Mukham. We may think, where can I start seeing the divine in this universe? And Krishna shows few of his manifestations, Vibhuti, in the next 4 verses which we can embark or start our journey. Krishna says, I am everywhere. At least see me somewhere. Aham kratuhu, aham yagnaha. He says, I am in the yagnas. Swadha aham, aham aushadam. I am all the oblations to the forefathers, and I am in the form of all the medicinal plants. Mantro aham, aham ajyam. He says, I am the auspicious chants in yagna, and I am the ingredients of all the yagna. Aham agnihi, aham hutam. He says, I am the fire of the yagna. I am the act of all the obeisance that you give ahuti in the yagna. In the eyes of Krishna, this entire universe is in a state of constant yagna. Everything in the universe gives something to sustain the universe. For example, sun provides the light and the heat. The moon provides the night light and the peace. The wind does its job. The motion of the planets, all the stars, oceans, trees, they keep giving as if a massive yagna is going on. Even at the individual level of a human body or the body of any species, several millions of cells, organ systems, they all work in close coordination with each other to do their job so that one life can survive. Krishna says that he is part and parcel of all these yagna at the universal or at an individual level, and is present in all the aspects of these yagna. Even in the 4th Adhyaya, 24th verse, Krishna says, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam. I am everywhere in all the yagnas, I am there as Brahma. And here it says, Asya Jagataha Pita Aham Mata Dhata Pitamaha. I am the father, I am the mother, I am the sustainer, I am the grandfather of this universe. And it says, Vaidyam Pavitra Momkara Ruksamaya Jurevacha. He says, in Vedas, I am the first form of the auspicious Omkar, the 1-letter word for God. And I am all the Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, Yajur Veda too. All our relationships like father, mother, sister, brother, children keep changing in different lives, whereas God is our constant father, mother, grandfather, and our sustainer for all the lives. The Om is a 1-letter pious word which denotes divinity in all the forms. The God is in the form of primordial scriptures or the Vedas, as they are the words of the divine, therefore called beyond the humans, Apaurusheya. The Vedas describe many worships of the Omkar Upasana. Essentially, we need to understand that God is in all the forms in this world. And now God introduces himself, giving his 12 attributes. He says, Aham Gatihi, Bharta, Aham Prabhuhu, Sakshi. I am the onward journey due to karma. I am the nurturer of all. I am the lordship and I am the witness of all the karma. Nivasa, Sharanam Suruta. He says, I am the home to all, the surrender place for everyone, and I am a friend for all. Prabhavasthanam, Pralayasthanam, Nidhanam. I am the birthplace and the dissolution place for all the beings, and I hold the karma also of all the beings. Bijam Avyayam, and I am the unmanifest seed. I am the eternal, indestructible, unmanifest form for all the beings. With the purity of mind, we can see Ishvara in all the forms in this world. Everywhere we can see the divinity at play. Everything that happens to us will be seen as a grace of the divine. Everywhere we can connect with the divine. In management, it is said that to find the root cause of any issue, we need to ask the question why 3 times, and we shall reach to the root cause. Similarly, in life, if we ask the same question, from where does this come from? 3 times we shall reach to the divine. The effect Karya and the cause Karana is essentially the same, and thus all the names and forms are divine. Tapami aham varsham nigruhami. He says, as sun I give the heat, as water I hold for the rains. Utsrujami aham umrutam cha mrutyuscha. And I shower it as a rain, and I represent immortality and death. Sat cha asat aham Arjuna. I am everything, the eternal, indestructible, as well as everything that you see as an illusion, the Chaitanya and the Jada, everything, I am there as everything. With this attitude, we can see divinity in all the nature at all the times. If we can see everything can be a miracle, or else nothing is a miracle. What we believe by chance could be the design of the Creator. If everything is divine, why should we have strong choices for our own likes or dislikes? It would be better to accept everything that comes to us as an offering from the divine, prasada. Till we accept it or see it that way, we can at least attempt to feel it that way, because it is said that fake it till you make it. Now Krishna starts describing the onward journey after death. He says, all the Vedic karmas described in 3 Vedas, including drinking of nectar and others to destroy the impurities, by doing all these yagnas, people pray for their heavenly pleasures. By their virtues they attain Indraloka or Swargaloka or heavenly lokas. They enjoy the sense pleasures of all these heavenly joys. And those people who enjoy the sense pleasures of grand heaven, Kshine Punya, he says, Martya Lokam Vishanti. But as their virtues come to the end, their Punya, Khatam, then they are born again on this material world. And Evam Trai Dharmam Anuprapanna. Those who indulge in selfish actions, as described in 3 Vedas, Kama Kama Gata Gatam Labante. Those who have desires for the objects, they need to come back again and again to this world. So Krishna describes the transient nature of all the lokas, including the Indraloka, Swargaloka. Even those people who are righteous, they are dharmika, or those who follow rituals and practices prescribed in the Vedas, including the practices of yagnas. Those who desire for sense objects and therefore involved in self-centered activities have to be reborn and reborn on the earth again and again. Even though they may attain higher lokas, including heaven, but completing their karmic balance of virtues, they need to come back on earth. Such self-obsessed people have to continue the cycle of birth and death. On the other hand, those who are devoted to Ishvara, what does Ishvara do for them? Bhagavan says, Ye janaha, those people, ananya pam chintayantaha, those who remember me constantly with one-point devotion, cha paripasate, and worship me with understanding, tesham nityabhiyuktanam, he says, and for those who are already connected, meaning always connected to me, yoga kshemam vahamyaham, I carry out all their desires of achieving and protecting their possessions. This is a very important shloka of Bhagavad Gita, as it is considered to be the central shloka, where the word yoga means to achieve our material goals, while kshema means to protect our possessions. Half of our life we keep making efforts and stress to accumulate possessions, and the later half of our life we have to worry and have to have anxiety to protect our possessions. Krishna says, don't worry, I shall carry all your difficulties, O yoga kshemam vahamyaham. He says, you need not worry at all. The valid question is, how can God take care of all our difficulties and solve them? It is we who need to take care of them with our efforts and our intelligence or thoughts. The answer lies in the understanding of the devotee of the God. Whenever the devotee is faced with an expected outcome, the so-called good result or a happy situation, the devotee sees the grace of the divine, Ishvara Krupa, and does not get too elated. Whereas when his unintended or unexpected situation arises, so-called bad or a difficult situation which gives pain and suffering, the devotee sees the desire of the divine, the Ishvara Ichcha, and endures the situation knowing that this too is going to pass. This utmost faith in the divine makes the devotee to see the hand of the divine in each and every situation of the life, and knows that he or she is just instrumental, nimitta karana, for everything that is happening. With this understanding and surrender to the divine, the devotee feels that the God takes away all his anxieties, worries, pain and suffering, yoga kshemam vahamyaham, and she need not take worry about anything or the past, present or the future unwanted situation that may arise. This is how the devotee is peaceful internally and is in constant communion with the Almighty. The devotee applies the principle of karma yoga to do the best karma and leave the rest to the divine, the karma phala, to whom we should devote to. As there are many deities or devta, Bhagavan shows that there is a difference between my devotee and devotees of the devta. He says those who worship other deities worship with faith without proper rituals and understanding. Oh Arjun, they worship me alone. We worship many different deities in Sanatana Dharma. According to our faith, we may worship Shiva, Krishna, Hanuman, Ganesh, Brahmaji, Devi, Mata, Amba, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and all others. And when we get our desired fruits or results of our prayers, we believe that it is the grace of the deity who has bestowed upon these benefits to the grace. But Krishna says that there is one supreme divinity, Paramatma, and many other deities or demigods, Devta. And this system has been created by the supreme divinity for the organizational efficiency to sustain the universe. And that is why the Supreme Divinity has created these many deities or devtas. This system is similar to the system of the center in the country, where there is a prime minister or president at the helm of affairs who appoints different central ministers to perform the appointed tasks, and there are members of parliaments who also carry out the respective responsibilities in their constituencies. Even at the state level, similarly, there is a chief minister, CM, there are MLAs, there are ministers of the state who take care of their roles and responsibilities which are defined. Their powers are limited, while the power of the PM or the president have their absolute powers, and they are completely responsible for all the affairs. Similarly, in the universe, there is one supreme divinity and his appointed many deities or devta. And this system is created for the people with different faith, as materially all of us are different with different faith in different deities according to the interplay of our three gunas. And essentially all the deities are one and the same, including the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. The Supreme Divinity is one and manifests in various forms. With this understanding, Krishna says, one who worships different deities unknowingly worship me. Tepi mam eva yajanti. Those devotees who worship different deities with faith are unaware of this reality, and therefore they do not get the real benefits of devotion. He says, for all the yagnas, aham bhokta cha prabhu evacha. I am the receiver and the overlord. Natu mam abhijananti. Those who don't me like this, Tatvena atah chavanti te. They do not know my essence and they do not reach their goal. So for all the yagnas happening, sarva yagnanam, every oblation that is given is for the Supreme Divinity. Bhagwana is the bhokta. And he decides the fruits of actions for all the beings. He is the karma phala data. And therefore he is the Lord or Prabhu or Ishvara of this universe. Those who do not know this essence of the universe and its systems of natural laws, Natu Mam Abhi Jananti, Bhagavan says, they are unable to reach the final goal of attaining the Divine Supreme. They get lost midway due to the different faiths in different deities and are unable to focus on the one Supreme Divinity. Tattvena Atah Chavanti Te. However, nothing is lost on this path. A big solace given by Krishna, no devotion goes in vain. There are different benefits of devoting to different deities, and according to that we get different results. He says those sattvic people who worship the devta attain the devaloka, those rajasic who worship the forefathers attain the pitruloka, and those tamasic, those who have superstitions, worship the ghost and the demons, they attain their loka. But one madhyaji mam api yanti, one who worships me, Ishvara, they attain me. So essentially what we reap, we sow. Therefore, we need to be careful when we reap or do our actions. It requires awareness, right understanding, where and how should we devote to the Almighty. Depending on their faith and their worship, they will get appropriate results in their onward journey after death. However, if one worships the Supreme Divinity Ishvara with sattvic tendencies, the results are completely different. These devotees are able to transcend the material realms and attain the Supreme Divinity, thereby getting complete inner freedom from all the limitations, sufferings, attachments, cycle of birth and death, which is called mukti or moksha. Now the question, whom should we worship? How should we worship the divine? What offering should we offer to the Lord of the universe? Ishwar says he accepts every offering given with faith. Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. He says a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or if nothing, then even water. Whatever is offered to me with devotion, for the person who keeps trying, whatever is offered to me with love, tadaham bhakti upayatam ashnami, he says, I accept it gracefully. God is very kind, is very benevolent, sees only inner love, not the outer objects. He is willing to accept anything offered to him with love, faith and reverence for the divine. In bhakti, the feeling of the emotions behind the devotion, the bhakti bhava, is the most important. And the several different expressions of giving are physical expressions like bowing, doing puja, pilgrimage, or words like chanting, shloka, devotional musics, bhajana, kirtana, arti, or offering the objects like flowers, fruits, or other meals called bhoga. If you don't have anything to offer, even a leaf, flower, or a fruit, or if nothing, even water, patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, offered with love and devotion, yo me bhaktya prayachati, is accepted gracefully by the divine, ashnami. This shows his utmost compassion for the humanity. Guru Maharaj says anything that we do for God, we should do with immense love and not just mechanically, remembering Him with the attitude of offering. God is indeed very kind, as God does not see objects but sees the love behind these offerings. Now Krishna says something apparently the opposite. He says, give me everything. Yad karoshi yadadnashi yajjuhoshi dadasiyata. He says, whatever you do, all your actions, whatever you eat, all the food, whatever you offer as oblation in the yagnas, obeisance, whatever you give as donations, and whatever you do as penance, mad arpanam tat kurushva. You offer all that to me, he says to Arjuna. It appears contrasting with the previous shloka where he says, you can offer anything to me. Now he says, you give me everything, whatever you are doing, giving, eating. So when we understand that Ishwar is not interested in outward objects but is more inclined to our inner feelings and emotions, bhava, then we can appreciate that there is no contradiction between these two shlokas. Krishna says, whatever karma you do, you offer to me as karma yoga. Don't desire the fruits of actions, karma phala, but do Ishwara arpana bhava, and that is what is karma yoga. He also says you give up all your identification to your limited I, your ego, your biggest enemy, because I am the doer of all the yagnas and tapas, and this limited identification must be gradually erased and destroyed. And we should work like we are a nimitta or an instrumental for doing everything. How can we offer all these actions to Ishwara? If during every action, if we can remember the Lord, see His grace, surrender to the Lord, and is it really possible to offer everything to God? For sure it is not easy, but we need to start somewhere. And it is natural to ask, what will I get in return if I offer everything to God? Bhagavan says, if you offer everything to me, you shall be relieved from the bondage of karma due to the good and the non-good fruits of the actions, all the raga, dvesha, and you shall achieve the yoga of renunciation, vimukta mam upeshyasi, and you shall be liberated, you shall attain me only. A person doing karma yoga, offering everything to Ishvara, and then seeing everything that he gets as prasada, and then gradually starts dissolving his or her gradual strong likes and dislikes and the attachments to the karma and its fruits, shubha ashubha phalaihi mokshase karma bandhanaihi, and then is able to renounce the fruits of actions by developing a self-restraint, sannyasa yoga yuktatma. So devotion is a must for the seeker to connect to the goal, to make the seeker soft, humble, understanding, compassionate towards all the beings. It expands the horizons of the seeker to see the divinity in not just a place of worship, but it also in all the beings and later everywhere in this universe. Thus, devotion is very important prerequisite to the divine knowledge, finally leads to complete freedom, moksha, from all the bondages. Who can devote to the God? Are all the devotees the same, or God differentiates between them? Bhagavan says, Samaha aham sarva bhuteshu. I am the same in all the beings. I don't take any sides, Arjuna. I am same everywhere. Name dveshya asti na priyaha. No one is dear to me. I don't dislike anyone. Everyone is the same for me. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya. But those who devote to me with bhakti bhava, feelings, with their emotions, they are in me. And aham apiteshu. And I am also in them. Krishna wants us to start with the form devotion, the saguna bhakti, and later migrate towards the formless devotion, the nirguna bhakti, and finally the divine knowledge, the brahma jnana. That is why he says, my devotees who devote to me with love, yah yajanti tumam bhaktya, they become one with me, they mai, and I also become one with them. One who understands the divine as his own self, Atma Swarupa, as the Lord of the universe, God is one with the beings and the same essence, Atma Swarupa. He knows well that God is all-pervading, omnipresent. There is a Raja Vidya, and we need to change our vision to see God from our attachments to an inner journey to discover this vast hidden inner world, the Raja Guhya. And all are eligible for devotion. Bhagavan says, Api chet sudurachara. Even those who perform many vices or does very wrong actions, worships me with oneness, he knows that that person soon becomes an ascetic, sadhureva samantavya, samyak vyavasita hisaha, and has determined his goal very clearly. So sins are nothing but unpious thoughts which keep happening to us, which leads to actions which are not prescribed by the scriptures. Gradually, as the inner cleansing happens, the repetition of such unpious, unworthy, useless thoughts reduce, and gradually they will vanish by the grace of the divine. And that is why it is imperative for all of us to avoid labeling people based on their past actions or reputation. We should learn from good habits of all around us and make best attempt to improve our unworthy habits. We can forget the past mistakes and make a new beginning with surrender to the divine. Such a devotee soon becomes a great man, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Soon becomes a great person, Shashvat Shantim Nigachiti, will achieve eternal bliss. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, know the truth very well that my devotee is never ruined. They will always going up, up and up in their path. A person who realizes his mistakes in life, accepts it, is ready for change, has the chance of playing the second innings, to embark on the spiritual journey, change his karma, to become a worthy person, walking on the path of dharma, upholding the moral values. Such a person soon becomes peaceful, cleanses his mind, and becomes eligible to pursue the path of knowledge. Thus, when faced with difficulties, we should always remember to take the shelter of the divine. He is there to help us in all our difficulties, to find an appropriate path to wriggle out from such painful times. Faith in the Almighty helps us to find the way, and patience, persistence, and perseverance helps us to find the way out of the tunnel to a new hope. Anyone and all are eligible for devotion, Bhagavan says, Partha mam hi vapashritya. O Arjuna, those who take my shelter and who has many difficulties in life, anyone including women, Vaishya, Shudra, any caste, color, creed, religion, nothing matters. Finally, te api yanti param gatim. They all achieve eternal salvation. Bhagavan says, God is all compassionate, includes everyone who is in his shelter, vapashrityaha, and those who have unrighteous acts, whose results of prior impressions, anyone irrespective of any caste, creed, religion, or even sex, they all come to this path and accept that shelter of the divine, virtue of their spiritual journey. They can be liberated from this world. And what to say of the Brahmins and the caste of the virtues, or Kshatriya kings, those who have become their devotees, being born in this ever-changing world with transient happiness, they devote to me and achieve complete freedom. Krishna summarizes the last shloka. Coming to the end, he says, devotion is the principal way to attain the divine. He says, man mana bhava, put your mind in me. Mad bhaktaha, become my devotee. Madhyaji, do all your yagnas, karma as yagna. Mam namaskuru, and finally surrender to me. Mam eva eshyasi, you shall attain me only, Arjuna. Yukta evam atmanam, and you shall know me as your own self. Mat parayana, after having all this, you will become a committed devotee. Krishna describes the essence of devotion as the primary means to attain the divine. He shows the complete surrender and full commitment is what he expects from a devotee, mat parayanaha, for the devotee to become a God-loving devotee. With our body, we should do all our actions for the Lord, and madhyaji, meaning for the creation at large, not just for our own self. Krishna wants us to surrender all actions unto him. Krishna also wants us to full focus of our mind, manmana bhava. This means he wants us to fill our mind with his name and remember him while doing all our actions. He wants us to completely devote to him with our mind and body, madbhaktaha. He also wants us to surrender to him, to accept his grand design of the universe and not complain on minor issues or situation. Mam namaskuru. With this kind of dedicated spiritual pursuit, one will know the divine as one's own self, yukta evam atmanam, and become one with the divine. Mam eva eshyasi. This is a call of Krishna to Arjuna to become his devotee, and through Arjuna to the entire humanity to devote to the supreme divinity. We come to the end of the 9th Adhyaya. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yogo Nama Navamodhyayaha.